guys, so today's video is gonna be a simple one. I wanted to talk to you guys about my favorite skin-like natural looking highlights. The other day I was reorganizing my makeup and I was just sitting on my floor and swatching out my highlights, and I noticed that I have so many highlights that are so blinding and are so intense, which are amazing. Those are the best, of course, for like a night out. They look so beautiful in photos, but I realized that a lot of people don't like such an intense highlight for day to day. I just love a fresh looking highlight. The kind of highlight that just looks like it melts right into the skin, the one you can't really see so intensely on the face. I mean, you could definitely see it, it's highlighting, but it's not like. So I thought I would gather all my favorite beautiful natural looking highlights and I would share them with you today. I have 5 high-end and I have 5 drugstore, so I feel like there's a really good variety here. I will say though that a lot of these highlights are very similar, like very similar. I guess I just have a type, okay? We all have a type. I have a type of highlighter. I do have a light skin tone, so certain highlights will look like a stripe on my face. So my highlights tend to be very light. None of these are like an intense pink or an intense gold. They're very natural. Basically, these are the kind of highlights that I would recommend to like a bride, someone who goes to school, someone who works in the office. Just something to give you a glow, but it isn't too intense. Okay, I'm talking too much. I'm gonna start off with the one I'm wearing on my face right now. I actually have a combo going on. I'll get into the other one later, but this is the Laura Geller Baked Highlighter Duo in French Vanilla and Portofino. I am only going to be talking about this one right here. This is French Vanilla, and I believe Laura Geller has this highlight sold separately. I just happen to have it in a duo. Portofino is beautiful too, but this one's more like an intense highlight. I'm wearing French Vanilla at the very tops of my cheekbones just to give a little bit of a pop right there. I love this so much because it just doesn't look like a stark highlight on the face. None of these do. I feel like I'm gonna get really repetitive in this video, but when you look at it in the pan, it looks almost like an under eye setting powder because it's so light and there's not much sheen to it. It kind of looks flat compared to the Portofino side. But when you swatch it on the skin, it just catches the light so beautifully and it looks so natural. It's one of those highlights that you can definitely build it up though. I mean, I put like 2 layers on my face. It's so buildable. You can actually make this pretty intense if you put a lot on. I love it, and I don't wear it as often as I should because when I put it on today, I was like, oh, why don't I wear this more? The formula is really beautiful. It's very creamy. It's a baked product, so it just melts right into the skin and it doesn't emphasize any texture. It just looks so beautiful. I really love French Vanilla from Laura Geller. Definitely check it out. The next one I want to talk about, I'm sure you saw this coming a mile away. I don't even want to talk about this for that long because I feel like I'm mentioning it in every video, and it is the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. This is my favorite natural highlight from the drugstore. It's so incredibly affordable, but so incredibly beautiful. This is definitely one of those hidden gems at the drugstore. If you haven't tried this yet, please try it out. It's such a natural, beautiful look to the skin. This one I feel would work for even more skin tones than that one. Whenever you feel like your face is too matte, you just pop on some of this and it brings your skin back to life. I have this underneath the French Vanilla highlight. I like put it all over my cheeks. I put a little bit of it on my forehead, on my chin. It's one of those products that for me works in multiple ways. I can get a big brush, like I used this one today. It's just like a Tarte brush. I dipped it into this product and I applied it pretty much everywhere, like a soft dusting, and it gave my skin like the most natural glow, but then I took a more precise brush and really packed it on my cheeks. I'm obsessed. By the way, when I show you close-up swatches throughout this video, please don't judge them by the swatches on my hand. These are definitely those kind of highlights that you have to apply to the skin, because the first time I swatched the Essence highlight on my hand, I was like, oh, okay, like, I mean, it's nice, but... And then when I put it on my face, I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, so my next favorite is more of a recent discovery for me, and it is a pricey one, but it is so beautiful. This is the YSL Touche Éclat Lumiere Divine. Very beautiful packaging, but very fingerprinty. This highlight is so elegant and beautiful. It's so soft on the skin. It looks really similar to the Laura Geller French Vanilla, but this one is a little bit more of a champagne undertone. The formula is really creamy and it doesn't emphasize the texture underneath. The only thing I don't love about the intense like Instagram highlighting look is that it can kind of emphasize the texture of your skin underneath because it's so metallic that it will just pick up skin texture. These highlights don't have that problem. I love using this in my inner corners as my brow bone highlight, on my nose, like everywhere. Such a good one. It is pricey, but I mean, I just love it. Okay, so the next highlight I want to talk about is probably the most natural looking one out of all of them, and that is the Wet n Wild Color Icon Bronzer in the shade Reserve Your Cabana. Clearly not the bronzer. First of all, this powder is humongous. You get so much product in this highlight, and it's also very affordable, so I feel like you know, that's a double whammy. It also has SPF 15, which I never really thought I needed SPF in my highlight. But hey, if that's what you're into, it gives you the softest glow in the entire world. I actually used this highlight in my drugstore bridal makeup tutorial. It does not reflect too much light. It just makes your skin look like it is naturally dewy in those areas. If you have very fair skin, you could also put this on other parts of your face just to make your skin look a little bit more glowy. The formula on this one is also very, very creamy. Like when you put your fingers in this, it feels creamy. It's so amazing. I don't know. I love how natural this is. My next favorite is a very popular product when it comes to a natural glow to the skin. This is the Ambient Lighting Powder from Hourglass, and I want to talk about the shade Luminous Light. I have a bunch of these, but I use them all in different ways. This one is the one I use to bring a little bit of glow to my skin. I use this powder on my entire face, not to set my skin. Like, I'm not setting my face with any of these powders, but after I set my face and I want my skin to not look so matte, not look so dry, I will dust this on my face, and it just brings, This one has a little bit more of a glow to it, but it's still very, very soft. There are like little glitters scattered all throughout it, but it does not show up on the skin as like glitter. It just helps make your skin look a little bit more luminous. I don't know how to explain it. This looks so stunning on the cheeks. This is like the ideal highlight for a bride. It's so soft, and the powder feels like nothing on the skin. The formula of the Ambient Lighting powders are very special. I don't know, they're very different to me. They're so smooth, and they just look smooth on the skin. I really love this, totally recommend it. So my next favorite is actually one that I recently repurchased because mine was very old, and I think I got rid of it like a year ago or more. This is the Hard Candy Baked Bronzer in the shade Tiki. Again, also not a bronzer. I don't know, that's not a bronzer. I feel like this highlight was so raved about on YouTube a few years ago, and then it kind of just drifted away into the dust once the huge strobing highlighting craze came about in our lives and took over. But this one is still beautiful. It's still a beautiful highlight. It's just a little bit more natural than what we're used to these days. This one is definitely a little bit more golden in tone. I know that a lot of people don't like this because of the ingredients, but I don't find that this irritates my skin, and I'm only applying this specific highlight like right at the tops of my cheekbones, and it has never irritated me or broken me out or given me like any texture on my highlighting areas. It's really stunning, really beautiful. If you're looking for a very natural highlight that has a slight golden undertone, I would highly recommend Tiki, because it's good. Okay, so the next ones I want to talk about are these from Cover FX. They're both the same type of highlighter, only they're different colors. These are the Perfect Light Highlighting Powders, and I have the shade Moonlight and Sunlight. Moonlight is definitely my favorite. It's more suited for my skin tone versus Sunlight that's just a little bit deeper in tone. You can't tell. It's just slightly more golden tone, and if I'm not careful, it could look a little bit too dark for me. So I usually just go for Moonlight that's a little bit more champagne, a little pinkier. Anyway, they're both very, very stunning, natural, lit from within highlights. I love these. It's definitely one of those highlights that if you were to go in the store and swatch it on the back of the hand, you would be like, oh, this is not gonna do much. And it almost feels like powdery when you put your finger in, like a little too powdery, but when you blend it on the face, it just transforms and it melts right into the skin. It doesn't look powdery at all. It's the kind of highlight that when you're like standing in front of me and I'm talking to you, you can't tell I'm wearing highlight, but if I turn my face and the light hits it in a certain angle, it looks so beautiful and glowy. The light needs to hit perfectly in order for it to really stand out, but that's what I love about it because it just looks so natural. It doesn't look like a forced highlight to the skin, so I love these by Cover FX. They're really good. Okay, so next up I have a highlighting face palette, and it's by e.l.f. This is the Illuminating palette. It comes with 4 different shades. This is so underrated. I feel like no one really loves this because it is such a natural highlighting product. It's not gonna be like an Anastasia Glow Kit where you look like Jennifer Lopez when you put it on, but a little bit more wearable. Well, depending on what your definition of wearable is. I think anything is wearable. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm only really talking about these 2 at the bottom. I don't really wear these. This one is a little bit too orangey toned for me. I don't like the glitter in this one, and this one is too close to my skin tone to where you can't really see it, but these 2 are very, very pretty. These colors are really beautiful. You just have to be careful with them when you're applying them because they're a little bit powdery. It's one of those products you're definitely gonna wanna like tap off your brush before you go in and apply it to your cheeks, because if not, you'll just apply too much. So I love these mixed especially. That's my favorite way to wear them. They just pair so nicely on the skin because it's not too vanilla, but it's not too pink. They look very natural and very beautiful. This palette is so inexpensive. It has a great mirror in it, and I think it's a natural natural highlight, but I don't think it's non-existent. I think it still looks really pretty on the skin. Okay, so I only have 2 more products to share with you. This one right here is my all-time favorite highlighter, which I'm sure you saw this coming. This is the Laura Mercier Matte Radiance Baked Powder Highlight in the shade 01 Light. This is the highlight that opened the doors for me and made me fall in love with a more natural looking highlight. When I first discovered this, I was like, I feel like this highlight is the perfect mix between an intense metallic and a very, very, very natural vanilla highlight. It's like the perfect little baby because it gives you more of a glow than some of these do, but it still doesn't emphasize any texture underneath. It still doesn't make you look like you have like a freaking highlight stripe on your face. It's not too metallic, it's not shimmery. It's the perfect amount of glow. It looks stunning. I've worn this like 100 times and I have no dent in this. This is definitely my most used highlight. I take it with me every single time I travel. I love my Jouer powder highlight in Citrine. That one has become like another favorite of mine, like a true favorite, but that one is very intense. That one is very glowy, very J-Lo. This one is just more natural, and this is the highlight I always reach for on a day-to-day basis. It's my most used. It looks so pretty even when I have barely any makeup on. Like the simplest makeup look, this will just tie it all together. Okay, and then the last highlight I want to talk about is more of an honorable mention. I don't really use this one that much, but I think you would really, really like this if you have like porcelain snow white skin. This is the City Color Intense Exposure highlighting powder. I do use this a lot, but not on like my cheeks. I use this as a brow bone highlight, as an inner corner highlight. I use this on the eyes a lot, just not that much on the face. But like I said, if you're very fair, I think you would really like this on your face. It's very, very light. It has that vanilla creamy undertone. This mofo really surprised me because it's so inexpensive. I mean, you can tell by the packaging, it's not the most luxurious packaging, but the product inside is actually pretty good. It reflects a lot of light on the face because it is such a light powder, but it does have a sheen to it. It gives you a very natural, subtle glow. It's not like overly luminous. It gives you more of just like that light to the skin. It just picks up the light nicely and kind of brings more focus to your cheekbones. The formula is a little bit too powdery for me. Like if you're not careful and you apply too much of this, you can kind of see it sitting on top of the skin because it is slightly chalky, but if you apply the right amount, it does look really, really stunning. Okay guys, so that completes this video. These were my favorite natural skin-like highlights. I feel like so many companies are coming out with boom highlights, which are amazing. Don't get me wrong, I love them. My drawer full, but sometimes I like a little bit more of a toned down glow. I know they were all pretty similar, but I just wanted to give you guys some options, so I hope you don't mind that. And leave me a comment down below if you have a highlight at home that you're obsessed with and that is a natural looking highlight. If I didn't mention it today, maybe I don't even know about it, so leave it down below because I love discovering those kinds of highlights. It's like a thing, I don't know. So yeah, that completes this video guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! None of these look like a highlighter. Okay, so I love how natural the sunlight, that's my favorite way to wear, that's my favorite way to wear them. That's my favorite way to, okay, and then me last project. I hate the mailman.